Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ari, and today we're going to have some more stories about our toxic life. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video, if you enjoy it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now without further ado, let's go. Today's first story. In this story, OP met their wife 4 years ago, and their relationship was initially good, but it later became strained due to financial issues. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the wife had an affair with a coworker and became pregnant with his child. He discovered the affair, moved out, and filed for an annulment. Now let's get into the story. I met my dream girl during the pandemic in 2020 by complete chance. It couldn't have gone better. We chatted all the time and got on perfectly and spent a few beautiful weeks together. I couldn't have asked for more. For me, it was the first person I had been involved with for a good few years. More on this later. So I became quickly invested in her, and she did with me too. During this time, we grew very close and started to have deeper conversations. I found out she actually had a boyfriend when we started talking, but she quickly ended that as things had fizzled out between them. I should have taken this as a sign. Anyway, by the end of a few weeks, I returned to the university to finish off my degree, and so did she. However, we were both well over 6 hours from each other. We agreed to stay in regular communication and would talk every day in order to see how we would go. We spoke every minute of every day as much as we could, growing closer and closer despite the distance. I made the journey down one time and we had the most lovely weekend. It couldn't have been better. However, I have a quirk or two in my past that I feel I should inform someone of if I ever get close. Better. To be honest and upfront in all that, I have a one-time incident criminal record on a night out that I'm not proud of and got myself into a hole about. I did some major soul-searching at that time and realized my life was on a downward spiral and I needed to sort it out. Long story short, I went from being at a dead end to studying online, gaining access to the university, and am now halfway through my master's, so I've made some progress. Anyway, that's a story for another day. Basically said the girl's parents did not like that I had a past like that, even though I was about to graduate and progress onto the next level. After that, things started to become a bit distant. We still spoke each day and she convinced me she was going to talk to her parents about it when she flew back to Canada for Christmas. Yes, she's Canadian. If only I had known this was a load of rubbish. I eventually called things off in January 2021 as chasing a girl for that long really starts to ruin your mental health. In my own words at the time, I'm 1% of the guy I used to be when we first met, so we went our separate ways. Fast forward to April 2021. I get a message from her asking me how I'm doing and that she missed me, etc. Me being the soppy guy I am obviously went along with it. She had actually moved back to Canada in January that year to finish her master's degree, so at this point, she was still there. We chatted through all of the summer, did video calls every day, and texted each day saying all sorts of lovely things to each other. She was reeling me back in very well and suggested multiple times she was moving back to the UK for me and her to start a relationship properly. Obviously, this had me hooked. I thought things were going to start looking up. I was very excited. Things were strange sometimes over the course of the summer, but I put it down to her being a bit stressed as her family was giving her grief for moving back to the UK. And she had a lot on her plate with it. I feel so stupid for ignoring my gut about the whole thing. She got back here in July and from that month till November, it was absolutely perfect. We were great together and it worked so well. But then Discovery Day happened on November 6, 2021. I had forgotten my laptop to do schoolwork, so she let me use hers. While she was at work, I saw some things that looked funky, to say the least. Emails with her ex's name, pictures from old holidays, and folders with pictures on the laptop just on the screen, plain to see. I did some digging and found some restaurant reservations from the first time we were talking, then some emails regarding academic journals. They were both on the same course and living in the same city. I asked her about it and she said they were on placement together and that was it. Then I pressed more and more. She said they went to dinner a couple of times, then I pressed more. She went to his house over a couple of months to watch sports with him and his friends. Then I pressed some more and she said he was walking her home from placement and she was inviting him inside. She slept with him on multiple occasions while talking to me. All of this info came out over a month, and a bit more information came too. She said she stayed at a cottage with her sister and mom when she was back home for a weekend. She saw him again with her family 2 weeks before she saw me again, had intimate with him in the back of his car, and in her words, said to make sure she didn't still have feelings for him before she saw me again. Honestly, since that day, my head hasn't been right. I've been trying to struggle my way through it because she is convinced she made a terrible mistake because she knows I would be the best thing for her in every way. She basically feeds me all this stuff. Her reason for doing it. She didn't have approval from her family about me and thought I was too good for her. And she has low self-esteem, so she tends to self-destruct. She wants to reconcile and is apparently madly in love with me and is now in severe depression because of what she has done to me. Her friend says she's never seen her like this over a guy before. Her parents and sister loved me when they met me, so they're very disappointed in her that she's done this to me. They didn't know in what capacity we were talking. She hid it. Everyone is hugely disgusted by what she's done and how she's played me for over a year. What do I do about this? I honestly don't think I could ever trust her again, not properly. If I could, it'd take years of hard work, and we don't live super close to each other at the moment. Half of me feels like I should consider trying to reconcile, because maybe she did just make stupid choices. I don't believe anything is really ever a mistake, though, and perhaps under all of that exterior, there's a good person. The other half of me feels like I should just cut my losses, chalk it up on the scoreboard as experience, and move on. I'm at a pivotal time in my life doing the best I've ever done academically and personally. I'm well on my way to graduating from my master's with a potential PhD on the cards. I never once pictured myself doing anything like this. The only thing making me think twice is that I do want a family, wife and kids and all that eventually. I just don't know if I'd be missing out on an opportunity to help someone be better and maybe do well from it myself. OP, after reading your story, here are my thoughts on the situation. So she cheated on you numerous times while you were long distance, then lied about it, trickle truth gaslit you about the reason, and now you're long distance again and are wondering what the future holds. Today's second story. In this story, Opie won $50,000 from a scratch-off lottery ticket and returned home to surprise their wife, only to discover her with another man. The wife begged for forgiveness, but he found incriminating text messages and decided to divorce her. They successfully protected their lottery winnings in the divorce and started dating again, while the wife moved out to live with her sister. Now let's get into the story. So here's my story. While I was on my lunch break one day, I bought a scratch-off lottery ticket. I didn't normally do it because I didn't want to waste money, but for some reason today I decided to do it. I scratched it off and couldn't believe what I was seeing. I won $50,000. I could hardly contain my excitement as I decided I wasn't going back to work today and drove home to surprise my wife with the money. I opened the front door and started calling out for her, but stopped myself when I heard a man's moaning. Then I heard scrambling upstairs, so I rushed up there. I saw him climb out the second-story window. He landed on the small roof over our front porch, then on the ground, and took off running. My wife was screaming and naked, but I wasn't listening to her. I ran out of our house and down the street after him, but lost him. He got too far of a head start. I returned home to my hysterical wife. I told her I won $50,000 and it was going to help me pay for our divorce. She was confused, upset and angry. She begged me to reconsider divorce, told me they only did it this one time, and that she needed some of the money for her schooling. That last one got me was a selfish thing to say. I told her I didn't believe a word she said and I didn't care about her schooling. I added that my feelings for her would never be the same now. It was like love mixed with hate and that wasn't going to be my life. She couldn't believe this was happening and started pulling out her hair and screaming. I tried to get her to stop and said it wouldn't help fix her mistake. Then I asked for her phone. She stopped acting so crazy and looked me straight in the eyes to ask why. I told her it was to check and make sure this only happened one time. She didn't know what to do. She obviously didn't want to give me her phone. I told her she would either give me her phone or I would leave and she'd never see me again. She threw it at me and said if I didn't trust her then I could check. She probably hoped I wouldn't look long enough to find the bad stuff. Her hopes were in vain. I found her hidden texting app and the messages between her and her AP. She tried to grab her phone again, but I kept it and locked myself in the bathroom. She was freaking out, but it was mostly breathless crying. I scrolled up and up and up, but I couldn't find the top of the messages. There were lots of messages to prove he was at our house. More times than I care to say I was done. I instantly resented my wife. I knew I'd probably have emotions emerge later and it would be hard to resist talking to her. I finally came out of the bathroom and she bombarded me with questions, wanting to know if I'd let it all go and forgive her. I told her I found her messages and asked why she did this to me. She said she was just a woman and she got bored but didn't mean anything by it. She loved me, but she was excited to do something fun. We were only married for 3 years at this point, but I never thought it would end like this. I told her we were absolutely done. She didn't respect the vows she made to me and I didn't respect her anymore. I told her to pack her bags and she looked around the room, probably realizing she had a lot of shit to pack and she wasn't going to see this room anymore. She sat on the bed looking overwhelmed and nauseous before she really started sobbing. This was difficult, I can't lie. I had way more pleasant memories about her than bad, but I just let my anger rule me to get me through this. Not out of control, but it was definitely making the hard decisions. I went downstairs and made a bed on the couch and I was going to sleep down here until she was ordered to move into court. I said if she didn't leave me alone completely, I would tell her sister what she'd done. Her sister was an extremely respectable woman and my wife lived up to her expectations as best she could, or so I thought. She covered her mouth, eyes watering, and walked away. She closed herself in the spare room. I filed for divorce the next day. I gave my father the secret of what I was dealing with. He was with me emotionally. He lived pretty far, so he was there for me across miles. I appreciate him. My mom left my life when I was 6. I had 2 best friends that I also told my experience to. They met me at a park and we talked and walked. Meanwhile, my wife was miserable. She hadn't left her room, but she did text me to ask for money. What a way to show what was on her mind. Our fridge was full. We were stocked on all our toiletries. I asked her what she wanted it for. She said that didn't matter. She was still my wife at the moment, so she was entitled to some of my lottery winnings and income. I contacted my lawyer and he gave me the idea to include a post-nup agreement in favor of myself in the divorce papers. I left the pile of papers on the table to await her signatures. Since she didn't have money to consult a lawyer, she signed them all. I was so thrilled I didn't have to give her anything. Now she had a short time allowed for her to move. She was not happy at all. She ended up telling her sister what happened so she could come get her. I wondered where AP went. A little birdie told me AP was already seeing another woman, so she gave up our new marriage for a man that dropped her like a hot potato. As far as I know, she still lives with her sister, and her sister hasn't been very welcoming. She doesn't have a very large place to live and wasn't expecting to have to divide her living space. I've since started dating, and it's pretty fun, even though I was used to a steady relationship. I hope you all found my story inspiring in one way or another. Don't cheat on your spouse. Today's third story. In this story, OP and their spouse were married for 11 years and started living a healthier lifestyle. They attended the gym where an affair partner, referred to as Baldy, worked as a coach. She noticed their spouse getting attention from men, including Baldy. Suspicions arose when Baldy seemed overly interested in the spouse's wife, leading to arguments and a change of gyms. Later, she discovered evidence of an affair when they found messages on their spouse's phone. Now let's get into the story. I just found out about this sub as a suggestion from a comment over in Reddit relationship advice and figured I'd tell my story here. Thank you all in advance for reading. If you do, around November of 2020, my then wife started hanging out with a guy that she knew from before but had little contact with while we were dating. One night we were watching a movie while he was over hanging out, and I saw he was softly scratching her back, slowly back and forth. I told him to stop, then got up and left the house before I exploded in anger. She came out and, long story short, told me that I was overreacting and that if I asked him to leave, she would go with him. Now, I remember being shocked that she would make that decision and wrote it off as her anger getting the better part of her. The guy, let's call him Al, was going through a rough divorce, and my wife talked me into letting him stay on the couch so he didn't have to live with his ex-wife. He was emotionally unstable and depressed, so sometimes she would sleep in the same room and sometimes on the same futon as him. I was not okay with this, but she assured me nothing was happening and I trusted her. Fast forward a few months, and she helped Al get a new apartment after his divorce was finalized. I'm supportive of her having other friends because she's a stay-at-home mom of a 5-year-old that was from a previous relationship before us. One night they both got drunk and had sex. Then again, a few weeks to a month later, he tells her to either have sex with him again or he will tell me that they had sex. At this time, I had my suspicions about what was going on and I asked her straight up, but she either lied to me or made me feel bad about not trusting her. She eventually broke things off. Fast forward to May and I found out she has Tinder on her phone. I asked her what was up and she said it was just to find friends, since she is cooped up in the house alone all the time. I told her that Tinder isn't the right place for that. But again, I'm supportive of her making friends. As far as I know, she had 2 guys over during this time. One while I was at work who just came by to take a shower after work and head off to a party so we didn't have to drive home, and another who she invited over while I was there and cuddled with on the couch. When I said I wasn't comfortable with her doing that, she basically told me to get over it because she wasn't doing anything wrong. Now fast forward to June. She meets a guy, let's call him Cal, and starts talking with him. She also brings up that we should open up our relationship and go poly, to which I said no way. She still decided to start spending alone time with him and eventually gives oral once in our house. Later she told me that she did so out of fear and to just get him out of the house, but she continues talking with him after he breaks it off with her and blocks her. It is at this point when the guilt finally brings her to tell me about cheating on me with both Al and Cal. She only tells me about the first time with Al and says that her and Cal did it in a hotel. I didn't trust her anymore because of all the other red flags and lies about not cheating. When I asked previously, but I forgave the cheating. She then started to become cold to me, not wanting to hang out or do anything together, not wanting to work on us or go to marriage counseling, which I suggested. She started sleeping up in her daughter's room and we were effectively separated for months. No sex, no kissing, not even hugging while she works on getting herself better so we can be better. Fast forward to November. She ends up going to hang out with an old friend that she knew before me and had been talking to a lot more recently in Hawaii for a week over Thanksgiving. She told me about it beforehand and that he paid for the whole trip. That was suspicious to me, but I had promised to give her another chance. She went down there and came back pregnant. At this point, I'm not even upset anymore. I know it's over and I'm gearing up to go through the divorce. She was all for getting divorced at first, but changed her tune to wanting to work it out. Once the baby daddy started saying he didn't want anything to do with the baby and she should get an abortion. However, I'm out, I'm done, and that was the last straw. I'm kind of glad that I was right in thinking that she would cheat again and that I would be able to finally be done with all this. I have no more moral obligation to be an understanding, patient, and forgiving husband anymore. I know a lot of you at this point are wondering why I stuck through it for so long, why I gave her so many chances and was so forgiving. It's because she has had a really hard life up to this point. She has a bunch of diagnosed mental issues due to a bad childhood. Think of the worst possible childhood you can imagine and you're probably close. She sees sex differently than normal people. To her, it doesn't have the emotional connections that it has for normal people. I was focused on being the best husband to her that I could be. That was the focus of my whole life, be the best husband I could be and the best father figure for her daughter, patient, understanding, and forgiving with all her issues. I was going to turn her and her daughter's life around and fix everything. I was going to work my butt off so she can do whatever she wanted to do with her life career-wise, and so her daughter could go to college. Providing everything by myself and turning their lives around completely. That's what I got out of it. At least that's what I told myself. Now I'm just glad it'll be over soon and I can stop giving so much. I don't know if in the end, I'm doing the right thing by leaving her, but I know that I can't go on anymore.